I don't know if you guys could notice from the past however many episodes we've done of this. I'm not a real big music guy. I don't follow contemporary music, and I haven't for most of my life. But there's a period of time in any just American child's life where it becomes inescapable, and that's like from the ages of about 11 to 18 through middle and high school for me. And that's where Bad Hair Day lives. So the next two albums will be that period of time in my life. So these are very special albums for me, and I love them very, very dearly.
That's weird that you should say that. This also lives in that period for me, but for different reasons.
I would love to learn some Hastily-Made History for Bad Hair Day.
Oh, Weird Al's Bad Hair Day. This album was released on March 12th, 1996, just a few weeks before my 13th birthday. So it certainly lands in that zone for me.
Happy birthday, Dan.
Oh, thank you. This is the last album released on Scotty Brothers Records. It was recorded, as per usual, at the Santa Monica Sound Recorders, engineered and mastered by Tony Papa, assisted by Colin Sowers. The material for this was recorded in 5 sessions during the months of November 95 through January 96. Critical reception of the time was extremely positive. Would you guys believe that this is probably, by certain metrics, Weird Al's best-selling album?
Yeah, I'd buy that.
It peaked at 14 on the Billboard charts. Amish Paradise peaked as a single at 53. Gump at 102. The album went gold and platinum. Like I wrote down here, other albums may have charted higher, but this was released in peak CD, so it may still hold the record for top-selling album at over 2 million copies. I mean, this went gold 1 month after release and platinum 2 months later. That is insane.
Yeah. Oof.
However, it did not get any nods for awards, no Grammys for either videos or the albums or song itself. As far as personnel goes, for returning personnel, we have Weird Al, Jim West, Steve J, and John Bermuda Schwartz. Warren Looning is back on the trumpets, Joel Peskin on clarinet, Tommy Johnson on the tuba, Gary Herbig on the saxophones, Ruben Valtierra is on keyboards, and Lisa Popeil on backing vocals. As far as new personnel, there are none. We get to skip this section tonight for another section I like to call Material That Didn't Make It. Before we got Amish Paradise, Weird Al had 4 other possible songs that he wanted to do that all got the axe for some reason. The first is Come Out and Play by The Offspring. Weird Al wanted to do a song called Laundry Day. I know. Weird Al has performed the song live, but they couldn't work it out for an album release. That said, obviously things worked out with The Offspring because in Running with Scissors, we get Pretty Fly. The next one was Free as a Bird by the Beatles, which would have been Gee, I'm a Nerd.
I can see where this would be revisited later.
Yeah. It's not Paul McCartney that nixed it this time. Believe it or not, it was Yoko Ono, who, in my opinion, gets a lot of undeserved flack in her day.
And Al's even on record as saying is he wouldn't mind a Yoko Ono marathon.
Yeah. Relating to another song of this album, the third one that got the axe was Numb by U2. It was going to be a Dr. Seuss adaptation, Green Eggs and Ham. And of course, this was, I think, like 2 or 3 years after Ted Geisel died, and his estate said, no way. And last but not least is I'll Be There For You by the Rembrandts, which if that doesn't ring any bells to you.
That rings all of the bells, Dan. Are you kidding?
I have never seen a single episode of Friends.
This song was going to be called I'll Repair For You. And...
Okay, all right, yeah, sure.
I love that he revisited all of these song concepts later.
Yes. And it wasn't the Rembrandts that nixed it. It was actually the producers for Friends who said, we're too cool for Weird Al, I guess. And all of these songs, I think I would consider bullets dodged for a variety of reasons.
I don't know, man. I think a parody of I'll Be There For You would have been magic on either this album or Running with Scissors.
Yeah, they would have made a ton of money off the royalty checks.
That's an unfortunate hole in musical history.
Last but not least, the album art. Once again, Command A Studios is back to do the album design. The art direction was done by Doug Haverty, who, I have to admit, I did not give his due in the previous albums. Turns out I did a little bit of research. He actually started with Al on Off the Deep End. He was the art director on all of these albums up to Running with Scissors. Photography by Carl Studna. He's done a lot of album photography for Eric Clapton, James Brown, Willie Dixon. Bad hairstyling done by Roseanne McIlvaine. She's done Al's makeup and hair work a lot during that time period. And last but not least, an interesting fact, this album was originally going to be called Running with Scissors, but Doug Haverty showed Al a photo of Coolio with the standing braids, and Al realized, bad hair day, that's what we got to do.
It's the correct choice for the name of this album. This album art is iconic.
It's really good. And end of an era, this is the last of classic Al visually. After this, he gets the laser beam eyes, he lets the hair down, so...
Yeah, even though it's not on the cover, the interior materials, the disc, the backer, a lot of the booklet, there's a lot of classic Al Hawaiian shirt. And
there is, but the alternative picture that I pulled for this one is the band with their various different bad hairs. And again,
yes,
I appreciate the full eraser head in there is close to what I'm rocking right now.
Nice.
This is the picture of a Weird Al album in my mind.
Head on over to Weird Al Yankovic's official YouTube channel. He has a Bad Hair Day playlist. You can listen along with us. The songs to beat, we put 2 songs in the S tier from the previous album. The songs now to beat are going to be Bohemian Polka and Livin' in the Fridge. And that's a tall order.
I think this album is up to the challenge.
I think this next song is up to the challenge.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good album, folks.
We've been spending most our lives living in an Amish paradise. I churn butter once or twice, living in an Amish paradise.
No one was expecting Al could rap. No one saw it coming.
Yeah.
Something that most people maybe are surprised to learn about me is I actually really like rap, which a lot of people don't see coming, because I have a medical condition known as white and nerdy.
Wait, the guy who really likes Hamilton enjoys rap? This is
I was
news.
listening to Amish Paradise way before Hamilton was around. Anyway, rap as a form of music is really focused heavily on lyricism. You cannot stretch words and syllables. You cannot rely on half rhymes or like nonsense words in a good rap. And that's what Al is really, really good at. Lyricism and delivery. So our boy can rap.
Yeah, Al's first foray into gangster rap of all things is kind of an odd turn, but for no reason science has been able to explain, it just works.
If you want to see like how perfect Amish Paradise is, there's a great mashup on YouTube called Gangsta's Paradise, but every other beat is Amish Paradise. And it just flips back and forth between the 2 songs every beat, and it will blow your mind. Al is so good at matching the music when he wants to now. And he's also, after his first 3 or 4 albums, he developed this sense of when it was important to really match the music.
This is some of the first time we will see where it's like you don't know which song is coming on when you press play. Like you can catch people off guard with this. And
Yeah.
I don't
okay.
have all the fancy stats that Dan does up front. So I have some stats according to Spotify. When you open up Weird Al on Spotify, just go to the artist, you're going to see that this is Al's most popular song with 33 million plays. Comparatively, White and Nerdy only has 30 million.
So guys, would you believe I have a whole section in my note called We Have to Talk About Coolio?
We have to talk about Coolio, yes.
Look, Coolio, I get it. This song meant a lot to you. That's why you sampled / borrowed a lot from a song that meant a lot to Stevie Wonder. And the story goes, Coolio said that Al never asked permission. He said that Al, quote, desecrated the song, that it was disrespectful towards a song that, quote, meant something. This is a case where he's not wrong, but Coolio, I posit to you the counterpoint that Beat It meant something too. But according to speculation, either Coolio agreed and then reneged on the agreement, or Scotty Brothers never asked Coolio and told Al that he agreed and lied to Al. Who knows? The point is that Al felt really bad about it. He wrote a letter of apology to Coolio that Coolio never acknowledged, even though Coolio's accountants kept cashing the royalty checks. The story does have a happy ending. Al and Coolio eventually made up around 2006.
I also take issue with the idea that this song desecrated Gangsta's Paradise because we were just gushing about the music. I have a whole thing for lyrics here in my notes, which is like, Al does this a lot, is he changes the call and response or everything for each chorus, which really is fleshing out the number of jokes per line that this song has, and it's elevating it from being as repetitive as the source it's pulling from.
Al is laying into the hypocrisy of religious fundamentalism here. The stuff like, I'm a million times more humble than thou art. Or,
I know that guy.
I know that guy. Or I smiled at him and I turned the other cheek after
The
being kicked in the
double
butt.
entendre, though, Dan. It works both ways.
The part that works for me is I'm the pious guy the little omelets want to be like, on my knees day and night, scoring points for the afterlife. Perfect lyrics, perfect delivery, perfect writing.
It's just skewering these people.
That's the word that I never picked up on before. He says omelets, which I'm
Omelets.
only now realizing is little Amish.
Yeah.
And that is so perfect.
One of my embarrassing nonsense that I used to put up on YouTube is I've done a couple of song parodies that I just did like karaoke style and put up. And one of them was a rap song. It's the only rap I've ever written, and it was 10 times harder than anything else. Just getting it all to match up right. So I have so much respect for rap artists who can do lyricism in a way that both sounds natural and carries meaning. And I think both Coolio and Al knocked it out of the park with this song.
And even the Gilligan's Island reference works.
Finally, we have a good inclusion of the Gilligan's Island theme song. This is what, the fourth song we've heard that mentions goddamn Gilligan.
Now, I know that I'm the guy who harps on we're not talking about the music videos, but I do need to give a shout out for practically doing the Buster Keaton stunt in the music video, which is jaw-dropping to watch.
Video rules.
So the Buster Keaton stunt that I'm referring to is when they are raising the barn, they have the entire front of the barn, this 2-story wooden frame construction, fall down and land Al completely through the barn window, which looks really impressive. And I think I was watching some behind the scenes video of Al saying like, yeah, no, the guys assured me that it wouldn't hit me as long as I stood exactly in this 1 by 1 foot square. And so I just had to stand there and hope we got it in that take.
Gentlemen, are we a triple S on Amish Paradise?
I bestow a grade upon Amish Paradise of S quintuple plus.
Yeah.
I don't really like gangster rap, so I mean, I'm just gonna have to give this one an S. Just one solid S.
But the lowest S Buttface has ever given.
When I got a nasty paper cut, and well, to make a long story short, it got infected and I died. So now I'm up in heaven with St. Peter by the bird.
It's time to bare my soul honestly. This is some of the earliest Al exposure that I have. This album came out the year after I was born, but I did not get into Al until 10 years or so later, between the like 10 and 18 range, where you start to develop your own taste. Some of my earliest exposure to Al came from fan-created animated music videos. One of the earliest I can remember seeing was by a guy named R. Rappin'. And this animated music video instilled an early passion for indie animation that led me down a very long and winding path to who I have become today. But we're not here to talk about the music video. And we are hitting it off hard and fast with accordion on this album, and I am here for it. This might have one of the best accordion solos on the album in it, which features some of the best accordion in Al's discography.
This album's a bit of a throwback at times. This is, I think, the closest Al gets sometimes to pulling that punk rock accordion sound that he had from the very first album. The accordion is in this because this is a Thee Might Be Giants pastiche. I mean, there are bits in the song where you can hear when Al is singing where he sounds like both of the two Johns. You know how we were saying how Dare to Be Stupid was more Devo than Devo? this is absolutely more They Might Be Giants than They Might Be Giants.
The song, it definitely sounds like the kind of song you'd put in your experimental film.
Yeah.
Every time I go to pay my phone bill, I think about KFC. So that's been a curse on my life for years.
Buttface, would you agree with me when I say that the song does make me want to build a little birdhouse in my soul?
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. I'm bad at building birdhouses. It's too finicky. I hate finishing work.
All right, you know what? Let's start.
Is this the same guy from Stuck in a Closet with Vanna White?
Has to be.
That's nobody's business but the Turks.
All right, Brick, bring us down with how this song is just nonsense lyrics front to back and it makes no sense.
No, I have this in palindrome.
Damn it!
I mean, I'll be the first one to stick his neck out there. I wrote down S quadruple plus.
Yeah, I also put this in S.
B for B Giants.
No!
No, come on, man! It's gotta be a joke. You're doing a bit.
Numb me, drill me, floss me, bill me.
So context is king, my friends. The year is 1996. We're going out, we're buying CDs, everybody's complaining, saying, oh, you only get one or two good songs on the album, the rest is all filler. So one of the things that we did was buying movie soundtracks. And 1996 was certainly a year for movies and definitely a year for movie soundtracks, and one of which, a extremely popular soundtrack for a otherwise question mark movie.
I love it. Don't you dare. Don't
Batman
you dare.
Forever.
God, that movie slaps.
You know what? I've softened on Batman Forever over the years. Batman Forever is ambitious but rubbish. And you can look at it through that lens and really pull some interesting material from it. Bono, in his infinite wisdom, said, I'm going to ironically adopt grunge and alternative music. U2 is a band that has a very malleable sound, don't get me wrong. But this is Bono trying to be ironic in the original. And here we go, Al taking this ironic song and making a sincere parody about the dentist's office, and trying to nail the Edge's sound is really difficult. And they nailed it. I can't complain about how this song sounds. Now, whether you approve of a song about dentistry, well, we all know our opinions about toothless people.
Surprisingly, this song has more than one thing in common with toothless people. I think when Al recorded this, he was probably banking on Kiss Me, Kill Me being a bigger song for longer, and it kind of just faded away.
I mean, that's true, but it still sold a lot because it was attached to an extraordinarily popular soundtrack. I also think Batman Forever kind of crashing also probably had a little bit of something to do with the tarnish.
I love Batman Forever. You shush.
No, I'm not saying Batman Forever is bad.
It's the best performance Tommy Lee Jones ever gave.
This isn't a Batman podcast, people, I promise.
It could be, but Batman Forever is not the song I think of when I listen to Cavity Search. I think of Little Shop of Horrors and how this is Bill Murray's favorite song.
Yes, I wrote that this is a much more relatable song about toothless people because it taps into the ennui of going to the dentist.
Would you say it drills down into the minutia?
It certainly does. But I understand that going to the dentist is stressful for a lot of people. And I can definitely get hearing this song. You start hearing those dentist drill sounds, and I can understand that might be triggering for some people.
The drills are a bit, yeah, they get me.
Did you know that the drill sounds in the background during the instrumental are authentic and in fact came from Al's own dentist?
That doesn't surprise me because this song feels like a guy who has a lot of money now. He's got a lot of dental work that's probably catching up to him that was done in like the 70s and the 80s.
I had this song as like a borderline high C, but what pulled it up for me is that Muzak fade out. Mm-hmm. I'm like, yeah, that's gonna pull it up to a B. That's just on point.
There are 3 points of genius in the song. 1 is the drilling noise. 2, and we're just gonna call them moans, guys. They are
they're moans
that really work in this song. It pushes it over the edge from good to great, and then the ending trailing off in a Muzak, and I used the word Muzak in my notes, rendition is just the cherry on top. I've got this in an A.
I love the numb me, drill me, floss me, bill me.
Yeah.
It's just the repetition of that throughout the song. That's a perfect chorus because Buttface was saying that this album really is a vibes-based album, and this song has hella vibes in it. Oh my, did I just say hella? God damn, what is this album doing? I'm being transported back to the 90s.
We're going back to the 90s. You can bring it back.
I can bring it back. I gave this an A. So a few years before this, we had Off the Deep End, where Al just dove right off the deep end to parody the biggest grunge act of all, Nirvana. Since then, we've had a few years of the 90s to stew in our alterna grunge juices. There's a lot of, I know, there are a lot of acts that followed, things like Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Alice in Chains, and then Soundgarden and the Foo Fighters start coming in, so on and so forth. But this is what you get when you've had some time for something to come back around and examine itself again. And this song is like if you took all those bands and just put them in a blender and you've got this alterna grunge smoothie.
Why does this taste like sweat? Why does this smoothie taste like
The
sweat?
reason why the smoothie tastes like sweat is because it opens up with that fake come as you are riff. Still, this is not a bad song. The lyrics really do capture that, oh, I'm not feeling good today. I could go into the office, but I don't know.
Well, now wait a minute. This song is not about calling in sick when you're sick. It's about calling in sick when you're not sick because you just can't.
As you'd said, this is Al dipping back into Nirvana, and I just think this is a less inspired choice than last time.
Well, yeah.
I forget if I mentioned on Deep Ends, like, I really, really like what grunge did for 90s music, but I'm not super into, like, actual grunge classic just straight up. The song's fine and hard relating to the lyrics, so I have this in a B.
I was the one who brought up this is a vibes-based album, and personally, I hate calling in sick to work, especially if, like, I just don't need to.
That's the system poisoning you, buttface.
You definitely should not subject yourself to system poison when you're already ailing from alterna grunge juices.
Yeah.
I tend to crawl up the walls when I'm left alone to do nothing, and
So are you grading the song or are you grading your anxieties?
I have to take my anxieties with the song because, again, it's vibe-based. And I don't know, this is just a C for cough and cold.
I mean, I gave it a B. Taking days off from school. That's what this feels like to me.
Yeah, we had snow days.
A snow day is a completely different vibe than taking what my mom would call an Anderson-itis day.
Have snow days. Why don't y'all check your privilege? How about that?
I wanna you like an animal. I wanna feel you from the inside. I wanna you like an animal. My whole existence is flawed. You get me closer to God. Hey!
Why This Song Bums Me Out a Little Bit by Brick Road, age 40. From here all the way until Mandatory Fun, which as of time of recording is Al's most recent studio album. This is it for polkas. From here on, he never again plays around with the structure or the format of the polka. It's just find 10 or 12 popular songs since last time I made an album, pop them into the polka blender. So like homogeneous top 40, Fox only Final Destination. And yeah, for someone like me who kind of stopped listening to pop music after like 2000, so from Poodle Hat on, all the polkas just kind of together for me. That said, if you did put a gun to my head and said you only get one genre of music for the rest of your life, I'm gonna pick 90s alternative rock. And in this polka, we've got Soundgarden, Sheryl Crow, Stone Temple Pilots, Smashing Pumpkins. We almost had Weezer. Green Day is in here. And this is the only Weird Al polka in my entire life where the first time I heard this song, I already knew all the songs in the medley. And that's a really, really good feeling. This is the third and final Weird Al polka that I'm placing in S tier.
Oh man, I get to be Brick's foil on this one. Let's go. So as I'd mentioned earlier, my first exposures to Al were from fan AMVs. And this is one such instance. So I go over to my friend's house, and lo and behold, what they wanted to show me was, and I'm going to need you to brace yourself for this, FLCL Polka by Pyrowolf of Cybermoon Studios, October 3rd, 2003.
I I have definitely seen this.
I'm pretty sure I saw that at Otakon in 2003.
Which coincidentally was one of my first exposures to anime, and so that's a whole sordid affair we don't need to get into.
All right, yeah.
But these AMVs were the first time I was really cognizant of like editing and remixing as an art form, and are absolutely fundamental to my interest to this day. I also disagree with Brick's assertion that Al has like just phoned in every polka from here, because he's now grokked on to my favorite thing that he does with polkas is he sticks to a genre or a vibe, in this case, alt rock. So you have a structure to the polka, what you're going to be pulling from, rather than just top 40s like you were saying. And instead, this is a perfect sampler for that alt rock scene circa the mid 90s. So taking a more focused approach to what you're doing with the polkas, while not being as myopic as, say, Hot Rock's polka, I think this really elevates a polka. And for all of those reasons, I'm giving it an S tier. Then we also have to point out that by going through these polkas and finding the original artists being parodied, that was broadening my musical exposure, and this is what I would refer back to and reach in to grab all of my angsty teen years music from.
Separated 15 years apart from each other, and yet they feel like brothers. I admit that I was not as into alternative. I mean, at this time this album was coming out, I was trying to break away from my older brother's musical taste, and yet I never truly could. It was my way of rebelling. It's like, oh, I don't like this new music. But no, I really did.
We get
like
it, Dan. You were
music.
sitting there listening to your B-52.
But no,
Ooh.
But here's the thing, is that I knew every single song on this because of Beavis and Butthead and MTV. And, you know, it actually gave me another appreciation for this stuff. I think this is one of the best crafted medleys just in terms of how things flow together. And also, I have several notes here, but these are not notes that are complaining about the song. These are notes like, why did Al never do anything with Beck? ?
Speaking of which, is this the only polka medley that like cold opens into the first song without going through some like earbooker stuff first?
Yeah, you know,
He comes
I'm
right in
pretty
on
sure.
Loser.
Yeah.
And that's another case of Al quoting something and actually turns out being good. So I hear this, oh, I'm not disappointed that I'm not hearing Beck. I'm like, oh, I still technically am hearing Beck. I'm just hearing Beck in another way.
Dan, just out of curiosity, do you have any hastily made history for this song in particular?
I do. You guys may have noticed that this medley is actually the shortest of all of Al's medleys. This has the least number of songs of any medleys. He was going to have Buddy Holly by Weezer in it, and unfortunately it got cut. Now, here's the thing though. There are cuts of this song that have Buddy Holly in it. So if you want to hear that, go on YouTube. You can hear it in all of its Buddy Holly glory.
There are bootlegs.
I think it works fine enough on its own, but it would be better if it had Buddy Holly in it.
I agree.
I've listened to it and I enjoyed it.
It's still going to get an S, and the reason why I'm giving it an S is for two reasons. One, the censoring of Closer is the funniest thing, because bleeps are funny. That's one of the things we've kind of lost in our, well, anyone can say whatever they want, and I miss the art of bleeping.
The fact that it is a doink sound effect is
Yes.
the best part.
It's like Al has this delivery in his polka medleys where he's singing the words in a way that kind of make you feel like the character doesn't know what the lyrics mean. So when Al is singing, I want to feel you from the inside, it's like gross and hilarious at the same time.
And also, I'm 13 years old and I don't know what that means yet.
Exactly right.
And then the second thing in its favor is the percussion on Bang and Blame.
Yes.
It's like they must have gotten like a legit anvil. It sounded too close to the beat to be a library. God, that song gets S tier on those two factors alone.
Outside of that, I also want to draw attention to that accordion run that he does in Basket Case is another one of the most technically proficient things that we've seen from accordion from Al doing on this album. It is insane. I love that accordion run on Basket Case. But it doesn't get my pick out song of the album. I want that to go to You Ought to Know by Alanis Morissette, because
Yeah.
I want to hear Al doing more Morissette-isms, because the one in here is choice.
You know, like, I know in my heart of hearts, if we have to pick one song from this medley to do a full parody, like, the correct objective answer is probably Black Hole Sun or Basket Case, but I gotta go with my girl Alanis.
Yeah.
And it's too
Yeah.
bad that this album predates The Big Lebowski by a couple years, because You Oughta Bowl is right there.
I had to go with Loser because, I mean, Beck. I'm a sucker for Beck. What can I say?
I couldn't feel any worse if you dropped a two-time bowling ball on my toes. Since you've been gone, it couldn't hurt anymore if you shoved a red-hot cactus up my nose.
So here's one more minute guy after the second makeup breakup.
Yeah.
So Al has a big problem in his career at this point, that society and artistry in general are not inventing genres fast enough for him to broaden into. So he's like, whatever, a cappella, let's do it. And 100% here for it. I know this is not like a direct pastiche on rockapella, but I absolutely love rockapella. Yeah, it's a pretty good one joke song that goes to like the only logical ending it can go to. And I've got this in A for acapella.
Damn it, I was going to
I
make
also
that
have
joke.
it in A for acapella. That's in my notes.
I feel like if you wanted to make that joke, you had to claim the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But still, hat trick. I wrote a brief detour into the 90s a cappella revival because it wasn't just rockapella. There were other a cappella groups that were part of the alternative movement. For whatever reason, we had this kind of a cappella revival. This is a tour de force of Al's singing talent. This is all overdubs except for the bass part, which is provided by Steve J.
I just got that joke. Oh my god. It's a guy who's alone who's harmonizing with himself. That is
Yes.
that is so good. I'm just going to call it the bridge in this is the genesis of what would be fully blown out into that live show bridge of Yoda, right?
Yeah. I mean, this would be like the end of side A if this was a record.
Oh,
Right.
and this is like I'm a complete sucker for that a cappella palette cleanser mid-album. And I have like a greatest hits of Huey Lewis album somewhere, and it's got their cover of All Right stuck right in the middle
yes.
of it. And it's so good. Ah.
He's Gump, what's in his head? He's Gump, is he inbred?
So in the 1990s,
Are you going to say that for every song?
yes, we are graced, and I say that a little pejoratively, with a movie by one of the greatest film directors of all time, Robert Zemeckis.
7 out of 10.
Forrest Gump, an adaptation of a middling book that has taken all the awards by storm, has become this cultural phenomenon because baby boomers are getting to the right age, like our age, where they're becoming brain poisoned by nostalgia of a past that never really existed.
I'm gonna, caution you against being too hard on him, Dan, because that's literally exactly what we're doing now.
I say this fully aware of what we are doing right now. And this song is mean, but it's not mean in the way Achy Breaky Song is mean. It's mean in the way that Lump, the original song, is mean.
Yeah.
I'm getting all riled up thinking about Forrest Gump.
Song, Dan, song on the CD.
Song, on the song. This is an infectious and catchy song, and I hadn't heard of the Presidents of the United States until I heard this song because somehow I missed Peaches. This song is not as good as Jurassic Park, I'll say that right now, as
Yep.
far as recap song goes.
Top of my notes.
However, when they play Lump, they end it with, and that's all I have to say about that.
I forgot that this was a movie recap song. I completely forgot about this song's existence. This is not better than Jurassic Park. And I don't really care about Forrest Gump the movie. There's a Family Guy bit that goes, it insists upon itself.
Yes.
And I get that it was hugely popular at the time, but going back to it these days is rough.
Very rough.
And I mean, I'm also not a huge Peas of the USA fan, so even less so of Lump. Pretty repetitive song, all things told. I do not even think this belongs in the A tier with Jurassic Park. I think it belongs in B tier at best.
I gave it a B minus.
I remember the first time I saw the music video for Gump on MTV, I was actually eating peaches in my little dune buggy. No, I actually love the movie Forrest Gump, and I love The Presidents, and I love the song Lump, and I think this is a fine movie recap parody. Gump is a moment in time. This is the most 90s album he'll ever make. I actually really think, now that Dan has mentioned it, that Gump would be a fantastic companion piece to a potential parody of I'll Be There For You. Just because if you're going to recap the 90s, love it or lump it, you have to touch on Forrest Gump.
You have to.
I give this song an A.
Well, that disgusting noise you make when you laugh gives me a throbbing migraine. Until you came along, I never dated anyone that's low on the food chain.
And here's the one more minute guy in the days leading up to the third breakup. He's back again. So the album doesn't need two I Hate Your Guts relationship songs, right? And if you're only going to keep one, keep the acapella. In like the massive Weird Al playlist I have, this song is absolutely fine. And I'm pleased to listen to it every time it comes on. I think it's fun. The lyrics they're super mean, but in a way that kind of reflects on the ignorance of the character at the same time. But on a listen to just Bad Hair Day, this song is like just covering ground we've already seen.
I really like the lyrics in this. And it's not because it's, oh, this is a gross person, but because Al gets a lot of really good rhymes going on in here. Just stuff that sounds simple, but is actually deceptively complex. Like, your teeth are all yellow, your butt's made of jello, you wake up in a puddle drooling on your pillow. The way he delivers that rapid fire in the song is just...
He also gets one of my favorite not rhymes, which is, you don't have an ounce of class, you're just one big pain in the neck.
Yeah.
Love the bait and switch.
That one's easy to miss.
I think he does that like 3 times on this album.
And I also want to call out the perfect line to go out on is, well, now won't you give my best regards to Satan?
Love
Just,
it.
That's what you lead off with. And
I do love the song. I just feel like it would have been more at home on an album that otherwise doesn't already have a terrible relationship song.
Oh, no, I hate this song. Like, this song is just comically mean-spirited. There is no redeeming quality to any of what its subject matter covers. And you know how, like, in This Boy Could Dance, while putting down that boy so thoroughly and completely, he at least had one redeeming quality? That saved that song. This song, there's no redeeming quality to it. It's got nothing. It's just beaten up on a relationship for no good reason.
Not even that it's a pitch perfect Elvis Costello piece?
I don't care. I hate this song.
You have a very different read on the song than I do. You're listening to the song, and you're hearing a guy who is just being super mean to his girlfriend. When I listen, I'm hearing a guy who cannot cope with just the little irregularities that are part of any relationship. This isn't a guy with a gross girlfriend. This is a guy who's never going to have a steady relationship because he can't stand watching someone shave.
Okay, Al does that joke better in No Cigar.
Like, it's not the same joke at all.
It is. No, because that's nitpicking the tiniest foibles is a good joke. Just listing off a list of mean-spirited things to say to another human being, I don't like. I really don't like it.
All right, I've got this in B, and I'm not going to die on this hill. So
I mean, I also had it in B.
I have it in a D. I friggin' hate this song. I'm so sick of it.
Wow.
Well, I know what's on that tube. I know just what to see. Got my TV guide with me.
So, in the 90s...
I hope he keeps doing that all the way to mandatory fun. Like he's going to open up Tacky with, so in the 90s.
So in the 90s, we had a band called Soul Asylum.
Who are Soul Asylum? What is this?
They rock ass, don't they?
Yes, but everybody knows them for one song.
Runaway train never coming back.
Yeah, that's the one song everybody knows.
Never heard it.
It's like you couldn't escape that song on MTV for like a year.
No, sir.
But here's the thing. Soul Asylum actually has a very interesting and diverse discography. And, Weird Al does not parody the most obvious thing. In this case, he's going for Soul Asylum's Misery. And in fact, this isn't even the only Soul Asylum that we have to worry about in this album. Spoiler alert. I think Al, when he chose the song, he kind of picked up on the fact that Soul Asylum, when you listen to Misery, there's a little bit of that video killed the radio star vibe in the progression in the song where pictures came and broke your heart, put the blame on VCR. It's like, it's the same kind of bit that's going on in this song here. I think Al picked up on that and decided to write yet another song about things he's watching on TV.
Yeah, part 3 of the Al list TV shows he's seen, quadrilogy.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not bad as far as that goes. I mean, he kind of digs in. It's like, I hadn't thought about hard copy until I listened to this song again. I'm like, oh yeah, hard copy was a thing, wasn't it? The music in this is because, I mean, I love Soul Asylum.
Right.
This nails the sound. It's perfect sound. It's like, I sound like a broken record on this, but I can't complain about how this sounds. It's great. I really enjoy listening to it, but the lyrics generally are just not that inventive. I have to give it a B+. That's what keeps an otherwise A song is kept out of A.
Dan, you covered all of my notes for this song perfectly. I don't have anything to add except this is the song on the album for me where he's not just doing the Soul Asylum sound, because he's also really digging into what can an accordion add to the alt-rock landscape. And it's so at home here.
Yeah, this song is the winner of my Best Accordion Solo on the Album Award.
Honestly, I probably could bump it up to A for accordion on this one. If it wasn't for that accordion, the song would be completely forgotten.
The actual rest of the song sounds like a freeze frame Where Are They Now end credit song. And Al, you were speaking about the lyrics, Al reuses family as a rhyming word for All, Inda, and Partridge respectively. So, I don't know. You gotta admire just how much he was able to stretch the rhyming with everything rhyming with that E sound throughout the whole song, but it does just end up being repetitive. And now it is time for me to break out the table that I added to my notes.
Oh boy.
In the US of A, 100 episodes is the traditional threshold for a TV show to be eligible for syndicated reruns. I did not check Oprah, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, Regis and Kathy Lee, or Hard Copy for obvious reasons. The shows with the most number of episodes of the remaining ones mentioned in this song are MASH with 251 episodes, Dynasty with 220 episodes, and All in the Family with 205 episodes. Now, of the remaining TV shows mentioned, 3 of them are below 100 episodes.
It's actually 65 episodes. They changed that at some point.
They changed that at some point, but when I did my research for this, it's still showing as 100 episodes on the Wikipedia.
Why does any of this matter?
That's why a lot of Disney and Cartoon Network shows get to 65 episodes and get canceled.
Get to the part where this matters before I light you both on fire, please.
Anyways, the remaining TV shows are The Munsters, Mayberry RFD, The Partridge Family, Three's Company, and Laverne and Shirley, which were not eligible for syndication as per that 100 episode cutoff.
I'm sure they've been syndicated.
What does this have to do with anything?
I'm saying that...
Also with syndication, you have packages where shows that may not fall under that, but can get licensed for a certain amount, get stripped together with other shows to form a syndication package.
I'm just saying, when you have a song about Syndicated Incorporated, putting on Partridge Family, Mayberry RFD, and The Munsters, which were all below 100. The Munsters has 70 episodes. It's like
I guarantee those got
I am
syndicated.
going to drink poison. Please say letters.
Oh, song's a B.
I mean, I gave my B+ earlier.
Yeah, fine. Holy shit, dude.
Boy, what a joker, what a funny, funny guy. I'll never forget about Larry, no matter how I try. Say, do you remember?
To quote, I have no recollection of writing this, but apparently I did at some point in July of 2009, end quote. This was posted on April 25th, 2012, a decade ago, on a blog called skibby.com. 4 years later, on March 2nd of 2016, some absolute fool actually went and did the cover. So I am incredibly biased for my love of I Remember Larry because I actually remember Kefka.
You're going to have to explain.
No, I will let you explain from there.
I mentioned earlier in this week's episode that I've tried my hand at writing song parodies, and they're all video game themes. And I don't know, I've written a dozen or so, and I've only actually recorded 2 of them. But at one point, it's like, yeah, let's do a song about Final Fantasy VI. Wouldn't it be funny if it was a parody of a Weird Al original? So there exists on YouTube right now. People can watch it, right? Like, it's still there.
It's still there.
You can go right now watch Not a Buttface sing my parody of Weird Al's original song, I Remember Kefka.
It was the one shining moment in my life where I actually had an accordion in my tiny house, and I was like, I have to do it. It's gotta be done. So I am incredibly biased on my feelings toward this song. What kind of fool tries to write parody lyrics to a Weird Al song, let alone someone who tries to cover said song with lyrics they didn't even write? Woe betide them all! I say, I am a sucker for Al's darker side of humor, and I think Larry and his victim in this song are probably his most outright deranged on record. Also, you know, it's not every day that you get to trail your song out with a sitar drone, so you gotta take your chances when they present themselves, right? I love this song. This song just puts a smile on my heart. It is peak Al, in my opinion.
This is the I'm only kidding guy from the other side of the coin.
No, I only had 2 notes for this song. Number 1 was just take Buttface's lead on it. And number 2 was point out the double meaning of it was a pretty good gag if Buttface doesn't. Because that's tremendous joke.
So apparently the song is a pastiche of a guy called Hilly Michaels, who I'd never heard of.
Never.
Some guy in the 80s. But apparently he was the drummer for the band Sparks, which Al will parody later in Virus Alert.
You need to go and listen to all of Sparks if you haven't, and then go and watch the Edgar Wright Sparks documentary. It's great.
Yes. I think this is Al's only song that has a backwards sentence in it. And it says, wow, you must have an awful lot of free time on your hands.
And that one backwards phrase was a parody of the Satanic Panic of the 80s.
Yeah.
Playing rock albums backwards, looking for hidden messages kind of stuff.
I just like that we have more accordion and we have more weird synthesizers. And this does have that first album vibe to it, just having the most accordion that he's had in a long time. The whatever that sound is, I don't know what that is. That doodly 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 doodly.
They're doodlies, that's what they are.
Yeah.
So I mean, I gave this an A.
It's an S tier for me. I love this song.
I also have this in S.
Oh, okay. I'm not going to be the guy who's going to sink Larry. I'll give it an S.
For fear of retribution of Larry.
Yes.
Larry can't
Like
hurt
if you
you
don't
anymore.
put it up there, he's gonna come get you.
Yo, hear me.
Don't go making phony calls. Only dial the 7-digit numbers you're used to. Swear someday I'm gonna yank that phone.
So in the 90s, we had a real resurgence in R&B, to go along with hip hop and everything else. And here comes TLC with a song that is a cautionary tale about sexually transmitted diseases and all the other things that you get when you go, quote unquote, chasing waterfalls.
I thought it was a song about salmon spawning.
And Al decides to take this song and make it into the dangers of prank calling because in the 90s, we were in peak crank call. We had the Jerky Boys, the morning zoo DJs were all over everything. And here's Al telling you, saying, hey, be careful who you crank call because guess what was invented? Caller ID. Somebody's gonna get you. I wouldn't call it memorable, but it is nice to have a little bit of The Simpsons in there at least.
Al wouldn't even appear on The Simpsons for another 7 years after this.
I know. In the 90s, The Simpsons was flying as high as it ever was. Like, that was a huge get for this. And Al, obviously a fan of The Simpsons.
This song just kind of needs like a scam likely update, you know?
Yes.
For a modern era.
The song is not timeless at all.
Yeah, now if people want to place phony calls, they're doing serious damage through like swatting. So do not do the phony calling is the takeaway.
Yeah.
From
You're kind of blowing my mind. I hadn't thought about this in years and years before you mentioned it, but the crappy morning DJ
Yes.
that I had my alarms called OJ Simpson every day for like a year and woke him up after his trial. So yeah, we were at peak phony calls at this time. God, I hadn't thought about that. They were so annoying. I like the Simpsons gag. I do. But I really wish that Al had done a rap bridge instead, like the original song has. Like maybe he was still, like his rap skills were like an unproven quantity and he didn't want to push it, so he went with the like safer Simpsons gag instead. But I think the rap bridge would have added a lot to this song, and that's why I've got this song in A and not S.
If this song was in Running with Scissors, it absolutely would have had the bridge.
honestly, this song is just kind of like a solid B. It's not much to phone home about.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it an A.
And he smiled as he said, with a twinkle in his eye, Merry Christmas to all, now you're all gonna die. The night Santa went crazy, the night Saint Nick.
I think it's safe to say that this is the lesser of the two Christmas songs, in that it doesn't quite sound like every Christmas song ever, so it can't like nicely fit into a playlist of Christmas music and surprise you.
I still leave it on my Christmas playlist.
Oh yeah, no, that said, I still love it because I'm a bah humbug, and evil murder Santa is a trope that surprisingly has a lot of room to be explored, and
But I mean, now we're just full of evil murder Santas.
we're drowning
least,
in evil murder Santas. It's
or at least, you know, anti-hero Santas. We've had a few of those too.
I love Al in his like bleak, dark humor. This is probably his most violent song to get through, right? We'll talk about the even farther beyond the pale version of it, but you know, it's weird starting off the album with Coolio and ending off with R.I.P. Kwanzaa.
Yeah, R.I.P. Kwanzaa.
The song is absolutely funny as hell, all the way, and I'm with Buttface. I love the black humor songs, and literally the only thing that is keeping me from saying this is an S tier song is that when I listen to it, I just immediately want to listen to Christmas at Ground Zero.
Yeah.
And that's not a quality an S tier song can have, that it drives you to some other song, right? If Al had never recorded Christmas at Ground Zero, I would classify this as an S. Otherwise, I'm going to place this as a high A.
No, this is S tier for me.
Yeah, you know what? If there are 3 songs in a grouping, then I can start kind of like being picky and choosy with it. But Al has 2 Christmas songs, and they're both S tier. There's one that's more S tier.
This song is 3 songs put into a blender. Primarily Black Gold by Soul Asylum.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Very, very much that.
directly.
But it's also got a lot of vibe from Ozzy's Mama, I'm Coming Home, and also Greg Lake's I Believe in Father Christmas. And I'm very surprised. I don't know why this isn't listed as a parody of that. I think it's because he mixed in the stuff from those other 2 songs just enough to make it legally distinct.
Okay, well, S plus A is a very high A, and I'm happy for it to sit at the top of the A tier for this album. That places it above Since You've Been Gone.
Yeah.
I can buy that. But God, just the lyrics, the rhyme. And once again, this album is full of great rhymes. He beat him with an old German Luger, and he cut him up just like Freddy Krueger. God, so good. That's why this song is an S. That's why this is better than Christmas at Ground Zero, because it has better writing.
Oh, so you're switching the order on us. You like this better than Ground Zero.
I don't think I said anything earlier, but I prefer this over Christmas at Ground Zero.
All right.
This is my second favorite Christmas song, with Christmas at Ground Zero being my favorite. And I knew Brick left. I noticed at that time Brick left this off of his top 3 Christmas songs. So I was really worried that he was going to drag this out of S tier, which came to pass.
I'm looking at our placement for this whole album, and you guys know I like a bulge in the middle of the tier list. We got a big bulge in the A list here. We had to work really hard to go as low as a C on Bad Hair Day.
It'll be a good question. Will all of us be able to agree that this is an S tier album?
For sure.
Oh, yeah, this album is S tier. The problem is going to be like filling the rest of the albums going forward, not all S tier. Because, oh boy, I'm loving every album. Go figure, after I was born. They're all great.
It's funny how we all kind of have our own different jumping off points, right? We're like, yeah, this is when the discography gets really good. Like for me, it was Polka Party, and for Dan, it's Alapalooza, and now...
And for me, because I was of age, post-internet easy accessibility, where all the creators were reaching back to stuff from the 90s, and so that's what I was it's nostalgia poisoning all the way down.
Like, I remember when this album came out, it was a few weeks before my 13th birthday, I think. So either A, I was given this album as a gift, or B, I bought it with birthday money.
With your Blockbuster Music gift card that you got?
I don't even think we got gift cards back then.
I don't know. I would maybe say that Bad Hair Day is the most accessible Weird Al album, which feels weird to say.
Oh, yes, this is extremely accessible. It's like, what other introduction could possibly be better to Weird Al other than maybe the first time you heard Eat It?
No, Alpocalypse. To anybody under the age of 20, I would pitch Alpocalypse as a starting point. No matter where you start in the Al discography, no matter where you pick as your starting point, you're not going to get that deep before you hit Amish Paradise. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. And again, this was his #1 song on streaming that I saw. So let's move on to some potpourri, as we teased with The Night Santa Went Crazy. There is an extra gory version, which I have never heard. So this is going to be a live reaction to it while we take our notes. So let's go.
Yes, Virginia, now Santa Claus is dead. Some guy from the SWAT team blew a hole through his head. Yes, little friend now, that's his brains on the floor. I guess they won't have the fat guy to kick around anymore.
We didn't really touch on it in the original version of the song, but I did want to also mention that the excellent Foley work of the military raid on the North Pole.
Put the gun down.
Used to be such a jolly guy, and then you just hear the cacophony in the background is great. And that is right where we lead in to the new lyrics for this. It is 5 lines and 2 words that are changed. I don't want to give it the whole 6 lines to start off. Santa dies. I was not expecting Santa to die.
Spoilers.
So we live in a world without Santa. Man, that does really change the tone of the song, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It brings a different light to all of the proceedings to just shoot Santa through his head.
So it's sadder, but is it actually gorier? The song was already plenty gory.
It's pretty gory, but the point of view character who is talking to a child goes, look, you can see his brain on the ground.
Yeah.
Like,
There's this funky neuron. It's not as funny, right?
Yeah, it goes a little too dark.
Go as dark as you want, but for me, it's just Santa being locked in jail for 700 years is way more funny than him just being dead now.
I think the lyricism in the actual version is a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Bleeps are funnier.
I knocked the extra gory version down a whole letter grade from the original.
I did, and I was debating, what if I like this more? I can't put the extra gory version higher, but I'm glad. I'm glad that my feelings towards the extra gory version live reaction is, it's still an A.
Still a great song. I'm not sure how I feel about the ultra violence. Bleeps are funnier. They force you to be a little more creative sometimes. I wouldn't play this over the original one. It has to, the foundation's still good, but A.
Well, that's going to land at a very low A for the extra gory version then. So we've bookended our A tier with The Night Santa Went Crazy. Al he hasn't said for sure, but given strong indications that to the effect that Mandatory Fun is probably his final studio album in the traditional sense of like releasing a CD or a vinyl. But part of me does hope that he records another Christmas song again. I feel like we're about due.
Yeah.
Son of a submariner, what a crazy, crazy guy. I'll never forget about Kafka, not till the day I die. Not till the day I die.
Bono, in his infinite wisdom, decided, you know what I'm going to do, and I'm not even gonna do it.
You're not gonna try.
Not gonna try.
Chickened out.